Hello. Here to talk about the book of Ruth, starting in chapter 1. I'll be reading from the English Standard Version. The days when judges ruled, there was a famine in the land, and a man of Bethlehem in Judea went to sojourn in the country of Moab. He and his wife and his two sons. The name of the man was Elimelech, and the name of his wife Naomi. The names of his two sons were Mahlon and Chilion. They were Ephrathites from Bethlehem in Judea. They went into the country of Moab and remained there, but Elimelech, the husband of Naomi, died, and she was left with her two sons. These took Moabite wives, and the name of one was Orpah, and the name of the other was Ruth. They lived there about 10 years, and both Mahlon and Chilion died. So the woman was left without her two sons and her husband. We're going to talk today about God's providence in our misfortunes. And the focus that we're going to have here is, although we often cannot see it, God's providence moves through our misfortunes to secure his redemptive plan. Um, what was very interesting is that in this text there's a bunch of names that is listed, and I want to go over some preliminary definitions. First, the providence, God working through the events of our lives, both good and bad, so that everything works out for his good plan. Um, there's a name, Elimelech. It means God's rule or king. It's very interesting here that Elimelech um, means ruler or God's ruler, yet he goes to a land of a foreign god. And what's interesting, that often biblical names are either representative of who they are, or that their name are the direct opposite. In here, Elimelech is the direct opposite. Naomi means kind or pleasant. Now, what she chooses to name her sons is not pleasant at all. So here, even Naomi is operating contrary to who her name is. And that often happens with us, is that we do things that are contrary to our identity, contrary to who we are in Christ. So she names her first son Mahlon. Mahlon means to feel sick or to be weak. Imagine when you call out your son, "Hey, weak, come over here. Hey, I feel sick, come over here." So you get the irony here. Um, Chilion means to come to an end, to fade away, or to fail. Hey, imagine calling your son, "Hey, failure, come here." This has this, um, and names, especially in the Old Testament, are significant. Orpah means top of the head. Ruth means to drink one full or be refreshed. Bethlehem is the house of bread. Um, the author is unknown. The date of this is, although it was probably written, um, e- either in David's or Solomon's reign. Another thing is that it could have been during the time of the judges, so they need to have a connection of how David's lineage comes back and Ruth comes on the scene. Um, Here's a very quick summary. Ruth 1 to 5 gives the background of the book of Ruth. And then Naomi has done what a good wife does, follows her husband to the very end, in the hoping for a very best life. But instead of a better life, life gets worse for them. Worse than they ever thought it had before. And so they have been staying in Moab for some time now. And not only does her husband die, um, but her two sons die as well. She has no form of stability whatsoever. That is how this book opens up. This is how Ruth opens, the book of Ruth opens up with despair and misery. And what we're going to see is that God takes the despair and misery and he works it out for our good, um, in, in a way far more than we ever thought. God is always working behind the scenes, even if we can't see him, even if we don't announce him, even if we are in a carnal state. God is working behind the scenes for everything, so everything works out for our good. You have a wonderful, wonderful day.